Hello and welcome to the Project Doctor podcast. My name is Ralph Goossens and I'm your project management expert, presenting you with all the things you need to know about project management. Project Doctor is here to provide you with expert analysis and with recipes that you can put to practical use immediately after the podcast, so stay tuned. I'm very glad to hear that so many of you have already shown up. So let's get started right away. So this is the kickoff episode of the Project Doctor online podcast. And we're going to do in this episode exactly what we're going to do in all of our podcasts, which is share project management expertise with you and provide you some recipes, stuff that you can put into practical use immediately. For this first kickoff session, we're going to talk about the project canvas. And you'll have heard about various canvases undoubtedly in the past. So there's stuff like the business model canvas, the innovation canvas, the strategy canvases. But here we're going to focus obviously specifically on project management. So we're going to talk about the project canvas, a kind of a map of the project world. Now, research has shown that the complexity of projects is increasing worldwide. And linked to that complexity is a very important factor in the decision-making and the goal attainment for projects. So this means that handling complexity, recognizing it, and navigating your way through it is a very important skill for project managers worldwide. And that's exactly what the project canvas will help you doing. It's a tool to help you divide and conquer this project world. Now let's first do a bit of a visualization exercise here. What does the project canvas look like? You can think of the project canvas as essentially a rectangle that is divided into a number of squares. And the main areas that we have on the project canvas, so let's say the main clusters of tiles that you have there is, I think of it first right in the middle, there is a tile called the goal. That obviously is what every project is about. Without a goal, you would never have a project. So that's the center tile of the project canvas. To the left of that, there's a few that are all arranged about the hard skills of project management. So these are things that have to do with planning and activities and milestones. To the right of your center tile with the goal, there are a few tiles that relate to the soft skills, the people stuff in projects. And these center around expectations and success criteria. So then we have already the three core tiles of the project canvas, the goal in the middle, the hard skills to the left, and the soft skills to the right. Underneath these three, think of another rectangular tile with everything that either makes your project possible or inhibits and hinders it. So you would have, on the one hand, the resources that enable your project, and you would have the constraints and limitations and boundaries that set a limit to what you can do in your project. And around all of that, there is a kind of a background tile called the context, which you cannot do very much about, but it will subtly influence all the other tiles of the project canvas. When thinking about the history of this project canvas, it's basically the end result of a discussion that I had online via LinkedIn with a couple of project manager colleagues internationally about stuff that we thought, what is the essence of project management? Obviously, we had many discussions, we had many disagreements and agreements. We had a lot of fun also, by the way. We learned a lot from this discussion and from each other's experience. And the end result of it all was this project canvas. Now, to make things easier and to have this in front of you, you may go to the website projectdoctor.online and download a version of the project canvas. Let's reiterate again briefly and give a bit more detail of exactly what it is. So in the center, there is a tile called the goal. To the left of that, there are 3 or 4 tiles actually that represent the hard skills. At the center of that is a tile called activities, planning, and milestones. There's another tile that's called your team, your project organization, the roles and the skills that you have. There's another tile that's called the deliverables, the concrete output results of your project. And finally, there's a tile related to the hard skills that's called the requirements and the design that flows from these requirements. To the right of the center tile with the goal, there are the tiles that represent the soft skills, the human stuff. At the center of that, there's a tile that represents the success criteria and the expectations. Then there is a tile representing the end users, basically the target audience of whatever the project is for. There's obviously a tile that represents the sponsor or the patron, and there's a tile that represents the third parties who are impacted in some way by the project, either by the execution of the project or by the end results of the project, or even both. Then there is a tile for the resources, stuff like time, money, facilities, raw materials, and consumables, if these are applicable in your project. And there's a tile that's quite the opposite of it, which is the constraints and the boundary conditions. For instance, legal limitations, physical limitations, psychological limitations, or a culture gap, which you could also see as a kind of type of psychological limitations. And surrounding all that, or underneath all of that, there is, let's say, the foundational big tile of the context that carries everything in your project. This all is represented on the project canvas, and with these 5 areas and 12 tiles in total, you have a very comprehensible map of the project world. However complex your project is, you'll always find everything represented by one of these 12 tiles of the canvas. Now you may be saying, that's all good and well, Mr. Project Doctor, but what use is it to me? Well, first of all, no matter how complex your project is, no matter how complicated the situation is that you're in, everything in your project, everything that you need to manage, everything that is confronting you, everything that you have to intervene on or act upon, will be represented by one of these tiles of the project canvas. So that means it gives you an understanding of exactly where in this map of the project world is my issue, where is my activity, where do I need to focus. So it gives you a way of easily selecting a focus area where to concentrate your effort so that you are directing your energies not all across the board, but at a specific area where your activity is needed. So thinking with this project canvas in the back of your mind helps you to understand exactly in what area of the project you are working and visually how it relates to the other stuff that's going on in your project. So it gives you a kind of immediate, without words, understanding of where am I and what is basically the neighboring areas of where I'm working with. Related to that, it will help you to prevent cognitive overload. Many things, of course, can present themselves at the same time at any point in a project to you as a project manager, as the spider at the core of the web. And thinking with this project canvas in the back of your mind helps you to quickly get a helicopter view and understand where things are popping up from and how they relate to each other, or how they might relate to each other, and understand how things can interact and how stuff happening in the area of sponsor of end users might be influenced by stuff that is in the area of the constraints or of the resources, because you can see on the project canvas that these tiles are next to each other. The third thing that the project canvas immediately gives you is a quick tool for alignment with your stakeholders, whoever they are, whether they are people in your team, whether they are your third parties that you have to interact with, whether it's the end users, whether it's your sponsor. By taking this very simple picture of the project canvas, you can literally all look at the same map, and that gives you a first stepping stone, a first point of shared vision, literally shared vision, from where you can develop your discussion and get to alignment on whatever is in the details or underneath everything that is visualized in the project canvas. So it can immediately function as a tool for alignment. And we're going to say much more about that, how that could work in follow-on podcasts that we're going to produce. And then finally, and certainly not the least important thing, the project canvas can be a means for you in a structured way to assess how much you are in control of your project. And we're going to dedicate multiple podcasts on how exactly that can be done with the project canvas as a first stepping stone. And the second thing that you can use it for is a very innovative way of risk assessment. And again, this is also something that we're going to definitely dedicate specific podcasts to, telling you and showing you exactly how to work in that direction. So the project canvas, apart from giving you a tool to prevent cognitive overload, a tool to identify focus areas, and a tool for alignment in discussion, is also the starting point for a whole procedure of assessing your project control and another procedure of assessing sources of risk within your project. That's it for our first podcast in the Project Doctor online podcast series. If you liked what you've heard here, please go to projectdoctor.online and make sure to follow up with the other podcasts that I'll be publishing there, and download your copy also from Project Doctor Online of the Project Canvas. Thank you very much for listening and for your attention, and speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.